Hello all, Alison here. Welcome back to Words and Pictures for another Watercolour Wednesday. At least the watercolour kind of done. These are some of my salty watercolour backgrounds. There's a full video of playing with these, which I'll link down below, and watch out next Wednesday for some salty watercolour playtime with an added twist. Very exciting things are coming your way. They're drying right now, which is why I can't share them immediately. But yeah, I just thought I would do one of my favourite things, which is stamping over the salty watercolour backgrounds. And yeah, because spring is bursting forth. There's no doubt about it, even though it happens a bit later here in the Czech Republic, in the Czech countryside, than where I used to live in the UK. But what I like doing is letting flowers bloom. So you'll know that I'm umbelliferous in my love for the umbellifers. Many umbellifer stamps, and what I'm going to share with you today is one of my favourite things to do with them. The basic stamp works beautifully, but you can let it flower. And this is another one. So two of these were in the winter collection. So winter umbels and winter grasses. And I love making the winter grasses flower. So if you've been thinking of them just as sort of winter seed heads, it's time to let them bloom. Very simple. We're going to stamp and then we're going to let things flower. So let's grab some archival inks. I think I'm going to use greens, maybe some dark blue would be good, and let's get going. There we go, greens and blues and some turquoises. I've got several colours of white on the mat. So this is PaperArtsy Heavy Cream, Snowflake and Cloud 9. So Snowflake is a full-on white. I don't seem to have painted the lid of that one at the moment. Cloud 9, a bit duskier, Heavy Cream, rich with a touch of sort of warm yellow in it. And I'm going to get stamping. Let's start with a winter one, because I said what I want to do is get winter grasses flowering. And I'm going to go over the top of this one. Which way up do I want this? So this is another decision to make. Take a look at your background and see which way you want things to flower. I think I probably want to go this way, because I'm really liking that sort of little cluster of salty crystals. It looks as though the salt's still there. I promise you it's not. And I think I'll go with quite a dark stem. But then what I might do, you'll know I love doing my multiple colour stamping. Going to take, that was olive archival. This is leaf green, which I'm just going to kind of take round those flower heads to give me a bit of variation in the colours that are going on here. And then I'm going to try and aim that so that it hits that little cluster, because I think they're going to give me really interesting extra umbel flower heads. So the umbels or umbellifers are any of those plants which have multiple little flower heads on them. Oh, that's already delicious, isn't it? I think maybe we'll do all the stamping and then do some flowering. So let's have you in. Might do one in, that might be interesting. So this is Beach Cruiser, which is sort of pale turquoisey, paler than the olive. It's not a pale turquoise, it's a lovely full-on sort of greeny turquoise. But because it's a bit paler than that green one, it should push that one a little further into the background. There we go, simple, easy, done. What should we put on here? Maybe, quite like the idea of the other winter grasses in this one. So let's grab that. That's EAB 44. I was just using, this is EAB 42. I'll list, as always, ingredients down below. So this one I'm thinking I might go with a blue stamping. So this is still going to feel a bit wintry. Maybe they're frosted flowers as opposed to blooming flowers. But the same process, we'll see where we get. A bit worried that that's not, yeah, fully attached. Because this one is dirty on the back, haven't cleaned it, naughty, not naughty, busy. That should enable it to, yeah, adhere more fully to the grid block. Let's go again. So again, I'm going to put, what's this, night sky over all of it. Then I'm going to maybe come in with a little bit of olive. I don't know how much this will show up, particularly as we're going over quite a dark background. Let's do a bit of that. And again, where do I want this? This watery bit doesn't make me deeply happy, so I think I'm going to grow some grasses over it. So we'll put one going straight up the side like so. Good firm pressure down, straight up. Ooh, I might emboss these two with some clear embossing powder, because that's quite pale against the background, quite sort of hidden. And then another one a bit further down, leaning at a slightly different angle. That's actually quite nice. Subtle in the background. No, I want them more present. Let's see, clear embossing would do it. I can't hang around too long because it will go haywire. Clear embossing powder, there it is. Let's get it on this stem first, because that was the first one I stamped. So if you use embossing ink, it's very sticky and gluey, and it stays wet for a good long time. I'm stamping in Archival. You can stamp in anything that's got moisture, and that should hold your embossing powder, but Archival is going to dry more quickly. But I got there, look, you can see. And yeah, even with that embossing powder on, that's just going to give those images a bit more definition against the background. I will still be able to add paint, because acrylic paint will definitely go over the top, even of an embossing resist, if you get it opaque enough and solid enough. Shall I give that? I'll give that a quick blast with the heat gun right away. Here we go. And you'll see the magic as it happens. I won't necessarily emboss the whole thing on camera, but it is fun. I'm going to come in from behind for a second to just straighten out the card. See the magic of that? Again, the weave of the paper. It just needs tightening in both directions. Here it goes. I can see it's about to go. There it goes. Top of that flower head. Melting the powder. Whatever you do, don't try and dry your hair with a craft heat tool. It's much, much hotter. It's made to melt plastic. There we go. Lovely. So you can see that's given those a bit more definition than they had. Let's go in from behind, straighten it out again. Than they had when they were just stamped. Good. Enjoying that. Yep. And one more. So again, we've got quite a dark background here. Let's see. Maybe we should have one of each. Maybe we should keep things simple. Let's stick to all the winter grasses for this. So I'm going to combine the two now. And we'll have the winter grasses going up one side. Like so. Oh, yeah, thank you. That's nice. And then one much shorter coming through here. Like so. And then what I'm going to do is have this umbel leaning in from the same area. All one colour. Not fussing with this one. It's gonna get variation as we go. Leaning in. I bet when I do this, I'm going to want to add more on both of these as well. Yeah, that's nice. Very good. Very good. Time to add a little bit of white frosting and flowering. The next part is a very simple process, but I find it deeply meditative, because what I need to do is really spend some time diving into these beautiful umbrella flowers. I've got a spot of Snowflake on the mat, the bright white. I've got some heavy cream, and I think I'm not going to put the Cloud 9 on as well, because by the time these two meet in the middle, it'll be quite close. I'm going to start with the heavy cream, and I'm just going to dot it on around each of these winter grass flower heads. So I'm expanding from the top of the stamped image. There's the little ball of the flower head dried, and then I'm just going to take some little dots around the edge of that. And what I'm really doing with this winter grass is I'm turning it into an umbel. It's sort of a seed head, but by giving it multiple flower heads, I am turning it into yet another umbellifer. So what does that give us? Maybe 6, 8, 10? Not sure where we've got to now in terms of how many umbel variations I've got. So let's keep this one in heavy cream because it's really pretty against the background. That one's a bit smudgy, that's fine. You can lift some off. I'm working with one of my Pentel water brushes, but you absolutely don't have to. You could do this with any old craft brush. You want, obviously, something with a fairly fine tip so that you can add that detail stamping where you want it. And yeah, this is one of the Swedish furniture store craft brushes. When they're new, they have a slightly finer tip. By now, this one's become a little bit softer and fluffier, but that's good. I'm getting fluffy flowers. And then if you want to, you can expand that even further. So you can make these flower heads as big as you like just by extending those painty dots. But I think that's probably enough for that one for now. But you can see how that also gives us lovely highlights against our green background. I had already zoomed in, but I think for this process I'm going to see if I can zoom in a bit further. Right, so now I'm going to just wipe off that heavy cream and get myself some Snowflake. And with this one, you can see the multiple heads on this. So the process of this is just spotting those heads and dotting myself some paint for each one of those. It doesn't have to be paint. I have also used my Dr. P.H.Martin's Bleedproof white for this. Thank you. And that will absolutely give you a beautiful result. You can go even finer and more delicate with that, particularly if you use it with a dip pen, as I often do, as you know. So as you can see, it's a beautiful way of spending some time just communing with the beauty and intricacy of what nature has created with these umbelliferous plants. I've mentioned this before, I love every word that goes with it as well. I love the short version, umbel. I love umbellifer, which just kind of trickles away on the tongue. I love the adjective umbelliferous. We are umbelliferous plants. Many-headed, many-flowering, multi-directional. I also quite like umbellifer because it sounds a bit like umbrella. And some of these kinds of plants, I mean, we're talking Dorcas carota, we're talking the ammies, we're talking dill. Parsley flowers do it as well, I think. Some of them do sort of resemble an open umbrella. There you go. I mean, how is that for just adding an extra touch of life to a stamp you may already know well and enjoy using? But you can take it on another kind of journey. I am tempted, having said I was going to leave these as heavy cream, I'm tempted to give them a little bit more white highlighting, because the heavy cream is a very warm colour and the Snowflake is a really true bright white, and I think there's just something about allowing those white highlights to zing that I'm quite enjoying. Again, with these you can extend these flowers as far as you want to, really. Grand. There's a certain magic to me in that, and the echo of it in the salty background that is sort of giving me the impression of more umbellifers in the background. That's one reason I wanted to come for these salty backgrounds for this. You can do it on any background. Obviously you could do it on a gel print, you could stamp on a gel print, you could stamp on an inky background, a braid background. anything will do, but there was something for me about linking the delights of these umbelliferous flowers with those flowering crystalline structures in the salty watercolour background. So it's a combination made in heaven as far as I'm concerned. Definitely something I enjoy. And again with this one, I'm not being too precious. You can see sometimes it's really big splodges of paint, sometimes it's a delicate little dot, and all of that is good. All of that makes me happy. And there's always one more flower head. You think you're done, you look down and you find one you haven't embellished yet. You think you're done, you look down, and there's another naked flower head that wants some petals. Not all of them have to have, of course. You might find buds that haven't opened yet. You might find ones that have gone over already and the petals are kind of, little flower heads have kind of vanished already. But there's a definite magic to that. You can see there's going to be white paint left on the craft mat at the end. You're never going to guess what I'm going to do with that. Here we go. So again, it's just allowing that white paint. Obviously, they don't have to be white. You could have any colour flowers you want. If you want to create pink petals on your flower stems, by all means go ahead. I was slightly horrified, having finally found myself a hawthorn bush to plant. Looking forward to the white petals of my beautiful hawthorn the first time it flowered. It came through in a vivid, virulent pink. So I was a little taken aback. But if you want pink flowers on your flower heads, by all means go ahead. For me, there's a magic in these white highlights. So I'm going to finish this one off, and then I might be going to add some extra stamping. I tell you what, let's switch medium. Well, let's put a couple more flower heads on in this, because this is going to create a sense of more depth, I think. So some of these with nice juicy painty flower heads, and then what I'm going to do is get some of the Bleedproof white ink out, and I think that's going to enable me to build a sort of sense of depth, because the more delicate ones should start to look like they're in the background of things, with the chunkier ones sitting in the foreground, and that's going to create even more of a sense of depth on my umbrella for flowers, because of course they are, some of the flower is coming towards you, some of it is receding into the background. Let's see if we can encourage that as an illusion by having some of them with these nice big juicy flowers like so, and then I'm going to wipe that off. Little squeeze of water through the nib just to free that up, and then I'm going to get a little bit of this Bleedproof white ink on the go, so that you can see is a lot more fluid, especially if I squeeze another little bit of water through the brush onto it. Don't want it too, the whole point of Bleedproof white is that it's opaque so that you can see it over whatever background you use, but that is enabling me to have a much finer dot, because the medium itself lends itself to a finer dot. So let's just see how that variation plays out, giving us a variety of little flowery seed heads. It's actually good combining them on the very same seed head, because then you get that juicy bit and you get the little tiny flowers that might be around the edges. Next time you see a bunch of cow parsley, or it's also known as Queen Anne's lace, in a meadow or on a hedgerow, just stop and take a look at the incredible intricate detailing. It really is quite something. I'm wondering about putting in some heavy cream as well, because obviously that will give me a sense of flowers that are maybe being hit by a bit of sunlight, warming up a little bit. It's just, as I say, a beautifully meditative process, and heaven knows I need a bit of meditation and calm at the moment. And now I'm just mixing. Now I've just got everything on the brush tip, and I'm just letting what happens happen. without judgment, without panic. It is what it is, and it is an umbellifer, so I'm always going to be happy no matter what happens. I think that might be about my lot. So as I said, you know what's going to happen to some of it, at least some of this paint on the mat. It's going to be spatter. So let's find a nice spatter brush. Well, nice spatter brush. The scabby old spatter brush. Loosen up that snowflake that's sitting there. And I think what I'll try to do is, rather than spatter over the whole thing, I'm going to, certainly on these ones, test my spatter on the mat. I'm going to spatter pretty much around the flower heads. Again, to try to give that sense of the depth of these. Let's maybe take a little bit up there and maybe take a little bit down there. There we go. Right through the middle, I need some. Good. Same thing, I think, here. Focusing that around these flower heads to just again create that sense of umbelliferous abundance. Do I want to accentuate these ones here? I sort of want that hint of umbellifer, maybe a little bit down in the meadow, but not much. Here, however, I do want to just create a little bit of sort of maybe frosted, snowy. I had beautiful frost patterns on my windows just yesterday, so it is still happening. That's the other thing, of course, that these salty watercolor backgrounds very much remind me of is those extraordinary frost patterns you have. And every morning when I take the ice off the top of the bird water, that's always got various different, depending on how cold it's been, whether there's been wind rippling, how quickly the water is frozen, how deep the freeze is. Sometimes it's surface and I can take it off, sometimes it's the whole pot. There we go. I think I might be going to call those done for now. I need to zoom out, don't I? As I was saying, I think I might be going to call those done for now. I could absolutely do some word stamping. I could do some ephemera stamping. Maybe we should. What do you reckon? I am going to wipe up this paint. I know that was a lot of paint to wipe up. You could, if you're absolutely sure, so some of that heavy cream I'm absolutely sure wasn't contaminated with either water or other paint, and I could have put it back in the bottle. Yeah, I think there might be a little bit of stamping to do on these. I'm going to have to give it a little quick blast with the heat gun because this paint is quite thick and opaque, and then I might just have a quick little bit of ephemera stamping. So here are the Tim Holtz Field Notes stamps, because we are in a field, unquestionably in a field, and some of my all-time favourite ephemera stamps are here. So do I want it in brown or grey? I might go grey rather than brown. It's going to be subtle in places, particularly on this blue one, in which case I might stamp in dark blue. But I'm going to do some partial stamping just to get some ephemera on the go. Oh, see, I already love that. Let's have one that maybe goes here. And so this is going to start to really tie these together as a collection even more than they already are. I'm going to have that almost entirely on. That's quite rare for me. More of a partial for the most part. I might put a little bit over here. Different angle so you get a different part of the stamp. That's nice. Let's have a little bit down here, contrasting. Maybe upside down. Look at that. Nice. And something here that's maybe going to come up from the bottom corner. There we go. Simple. Very good. What's next? Maybe some of these numbers. Love this number. Always love this number. There's just something really cool about it. You can see that I love it. Doesn't want to stick to my grid plate. That's because it's got a little bit mucky on the back. Let's do this maybe in the blue on here. Going to connect it to this. There we are. Side. I quite like that blue. Or maybe we'll go a little bit beach cruisery. Maybe over here. Where do I want it? Maybe I'll do a similar thing and connect it to the label going down the side there. That's nice. And on here, maybe it gets to be in green. And where does it go? Like so. Good. That's happy making. Maybe, what else do I want? Oh, I know. Have I got? Okay, we'll stick to these because they're here. Orders attended to day and night. Always another favourite little phrase. I think I might stick to going with the same colour. So the beach cruiser on this one, you can see, went straight over night sky, and that's what gave us that sort of deep turquoise. Let's come down the bottom here because I like it. And again, you can see tone on tone, that's nice and subtle, going to come straight in with the beach cruiser over the top of it. So again, it's going to have echoes of that bluey green. I think we might take this one across the top. Nice. And then, what was it on here? Olive, maybe? What is attended to day and night? Where's this going to go? Maybe down this side to meet that label. Simple trio of ephemera stamping, and I think what I might want is one word on each of them, which I am going to white emboss. So that's my Wow Opaque Bright White. Lots of words on all of these. Renewal feels like a lovely word for spring, doesn't it? I think that's going to come down here. So this I might stamp in a distress ink, just because it's going to give me a bit more juice to catch a bit more powder. Still not going all the way, you'll notice, for the embossing ink. I always find it just a bit too sticky. Grand. Let's get the white powder onto there. There we are. Maybe I can get all three of them stamped and then emboss all three of them. And if you come back for the close-up, you'll see what words I've chosen to go on the other three. I hope you've enjoyed what I've been up to today, taking a little look at allowing umbellifers to flower with paint or with ink, and also just having a think about when you pick a background or when you choose what's going over a background, that relationship between the background and what goes over the top is just a really lovely thing to think about. If you've enjoyed today, do give me a thumbs up, leave comments and questions down below. As I said, I'll link to some salty watercolours previous video down below, and watch out, as I said, next week for some salty watercolours with a twist. Thanks so much for your company, and happy crafting all.